In GTA, the most stupid way I've ever died was when I was doing a bank heist mission, and while I was driving away from the police, I realized my car was so damaged that it was about to explode. And so instead of switching vehicles and regrouping with my teammates, I decided to ram into the front door of the GTA strip club and do a gooning speedrun for the next 30 seconds before a police officer ran into the same building and started gooning alongside me before shooting me in the head. Anyways, let's rank some dumb ways people have died in real life. Silliest deaths in history by Chat History.
Sometimes it's your own pride that can get the best of you. This is Hans Steininger, and this is his beard. Hey, my eyes are up here. Looking like the wisest wizard in the world, Hans was a public spectacle in the 16th century and also a well-respected politician. Cause, I mean, come on, who are you gonna vote for? Majestic and marvelous beard boy Hans, or the lame and lackluster clean-shaven Franz?
Bro, you could literally use that beard to like tie it to your ass heads and like turn yourself into like a bit of a human handbag.
Und that is how I will be lowering taxes while simultaneously providing affordable healthcare and housing for all. Alright, but where's your beard? I don't have one.
This guy stinks!
But behind that big bushel of bristles beats a kind heart, one that legitimately cared for his town and its people. So much so that Hans was elected as mayor for 6 consecutive terms for the town of Braunau am Inn, a town that resides on the border between modern-day Austria and Germany. It's also the birthplace of another famous facial hair haver.
Okay, you guys can't see this, but Austria. The Austrian painter.
Measuring in at over 4.5 feet in length, Hans's big-ass beard was his defining feature and was certainly a testament to his patience and care in many aspects in his life. If you can brush your beard, you can untangle legislative issues. If you can oil up your whiskers, you can lubricate the political machine.
But I mean, Diddy doesn't have a long, luscious beard, yet he's still able to oil up his victims. I mean, who's copying the new Call of Diddy when it drops?
So it goes without saying that cosmetology and political science are of equal value. At least from a college degree standpoint. However, Hans's biggest asset would be his downfall, quite literally. On September 28, 1567, a fire broke out in the town, which was a much bigger threat back then than it is today. Since the extent of firefighting tactics were just pathetic pails of water, a single small fire could reduce your whole town to cinders real quick. Hans, who usually tucked his beloved beard into a leather pouch for safekeeping and uninhibited travel, let his lusciously long locks whimsically whip in the wind as he ran to help with the fire.
And let me guess, his entire beard gets caught on fire and he just burns alive? Because isn't hair, like, relatively flammable? Especially if there's, like, so much oil on it. Like, if there's so much oil on it, then, like, it's pretty easy for it to, like, catch fire, right?
Scuttling down some stairs in a panic, Hans had accidentally slammed a piggy right on his own facial pubes, causing him to slip and trip down the entire staircase.
Oh, okay, yeah, that. I mean, if he doesn't get taken out by the fire, I think that may have taken him out, because that was definitely a little bit of just a light fall.
He snapped his neck, and the town was devastated. Not by the fire, but by the loss of their beloved mayor. Before being buried, the townsfolk had Hans's beard gently removed and chemically preserved, immortalizing his legacy. The forever facial hair is still on display in a museum in the town today. You know his ghost is pissed, though.
Bro, that is insanely creepy. I don't know about you, but I just find the idea of keeping a dead man's beard in a museum insanely creepy, even though it's hair. Like, hair is technically dead already, but like, shouldn't he have been buried with his beard? Like, you're just keeping this as a trophy of his dead body. But I mean, honestly, the way he died is basically he tripped on his own beard and he fell down the stairs and broke his neck. I mean, yeah, it's a bit, I mean, this was bound to happen with a beard this long, and so I don't think it's really like that dumb. Like, it's not really his fault, honestly. I think it's perhaps slightly questionable. Like maybe he shouldn't have just grown his beard that length, but at the same time, like, maybe he did it for religious purposes. So maybe I'm just gonna say this is calm. I don't think this is like that dumb, honestly.
Ever have an extreme case of the sleepy ha-has where you find anything and everything to be complete comedic gold to the point of not being able to even breathe?
No, I've never heard of that concept before. Is that even a real thing? Being so tired that you find anything funny? I've never heard of that before. I've never experienced that before, I don't think.
Now try to imagine this soggy scoop of Cheerios doing that.
Is that Vincent Van Gogh?
This is Chrysippus,
Oh,
a rather
no.
influential Greek Stoic philosopher in the 3rd century BC. In case you don't peruse that corner of YouTube, Stoicism is the philosophy that you only ever need to focus on what you can control in your life. Anything reasonably outside of that control, Hacunas Matatis, not my problemas. Which is a pretty solid philosophy, especially in this age of doom and gloom social media designed to make you perpetually paranoid and pissed off. Chrysippus was also a huge proponent of logical reasoning, having created an original system of propositional logic, stuff like if, then, and or statements that we use to describe the world around us today. For example, if you are not subscribed to this channel, then you're dead to me. Simple logic. The basic idea is that any and all things happen for a reason. Well, I'm sure Chrysippus would have a hard time understanding the logic and reasoning surrounding his rather untimely death. According to legend, Chrysippus, at the fermented old age of 73, got trashed at a feast. In his slizzard state, he had stumbled upon a donkey who was munching on some figs. Registering at least a 6.9 on the ancient Greek comedy scale, the masticating mule was a hilarious sight to behold, prompting Chrysippus to exclaim, quote, "Now give the donkey some pure wine to wash down the figs." This added punchline sent the Lord of Logic over the edge. Chrysippus reportedly hurled himself into a fit of laughter so intense that he had collapsed, foaming at the mouth. Despite some nearby partygoers attempting to help him, he had knocked himself dead with his own joke.
Wait, so the joke, it wasn't even said by anyone else? He said it himself, and he died from laughing at his own joke? Bro, I don't know what is more sad. Like, the fact that he died from laughter, or the fact that, like, he died from his own joke. I mean, first of all, who even laughs at their own joke? Like that, I mean, like, that is, like, you know, that is pretty low. But to die from laughter at laughing at your own joke, that is, like, that is beyond... That is beyond low. That is like, what are you even doing at that point? And it wasn't even funny at all. Like, so the guy was eating the figs, the donkey was eating the figs rapidly, and someone said, give him some wine to wash it down. I don't understand that. How is that a joke? A donkey eating figs, give him some wine to wash the figs down. I mean, that could have just been a regular statement. Like, maybe the donkey would have appreciated the wine to wash it down. Like that could have been, like, legit. But I guess all things happen for a reason. So the donkey was there for a reason. It was eating the figs for a reason. And I guess this guy probably died for a reason. And if this guy hadn't have died, then we wouldn't have studied his philosophy so much. And then we wouldn't have had the if, then, or sort of, the commands. And then that would have affected coding. And then coding would have affected AI. And so if this guy hadn't have died in this way, then we wouldn't have AI today. And so therefore, everything happens for a reason.
But the question is, can you actually die from laughter? Sure you can. It's rare, but medically possible.
Ooh.
If you laugh your ass off to the point of it being an uncontrollable fit, that actually puts a lot of stress on your heart. So if you have a weak heart, you're probably going to exacerbate some underlying conditions, leading to a heart attack. You also have the possibility of losing consciousness if you laugh yourself out of breath for long enough. But you have to hear or see something exceptionally funny for that to happen, so don't worry, you're safe here.
But I mean, realistically, what could ever possibly be so funny that you laugh this much where you sort of experience this stuff? Like, me personally, I don't think I've ever laughed at anything, like legit, like genuinely. I've never, like, genuinely laughed at anything, because nothing is funny. Like, honestly, nothing is funny. Like, the only thing I find funny is, like, I don't think I can actually share the type of things I find funny, because it's like, it's a bit, you know, unethical to laugh at that sort of stuff. And so I'm not going to say, but, like, even then, like, that sort of stuff is, like, it's not really that, like, insanely funny, like not funny enough to make me, like, potentially die from laughter.
Now, of course, this recount of events is debated by historians. The guy who documented this particular death was ancient Greek biographer Diogenes Laertius, who lived a few hundred years after Chrysippus' death, so he was far from an eyewitness. Diogenes nuts! On top of that, he also wrote an alternative...
I'm dying from laughter, I'm dying. I'm having a seizure.
On top of that, he also wrote an alternative, more mundane account of the comical death, simply writing that Chrysippus died of alcohol poisoning after drinking too much undiluted wine, but I guess he needed to spice some things up for his readers.
Okay, so dying from laughter, I mean, yeah, it's definitely not calm. Honestly, I don't think it's slightly questionable. I think this could be brain damage. Because, like, I think you genuinely do have to have something wrong with your brain for your laugh sensitivity to be, like, that high. Like, no normal person will laugh at anything that much to the point where, like, they die. So I think this is brain damage. This is brain damage. This guy, bro, you dying from laughter? Like, you literally dying from laughter? How can you allow that to happen?
If there was ever proof that the universe has a cruel sense of humor, then it's the curious case of American lawyer and politician Clement Vallandigham. Howdy. Though he resided in the Union state of Ohio during the mid-1800s, Clement was adamantly against the Civil War, calling it, quote, a wicked, cruel, and unnecessary war. Which is fine, but being a member of the Copperhead faction of the anti-war Democrats, Clement was a very vocal Confederate sympathizer, speaking out against President Lincoln and the abolition of slavery. To which Lincoln was all and sent him to the South to live amongst his Confederate companions in 1863. Clement, who was clearly not about that life, snuck aboard a ship and shipped himself off to Canada before sneaking back to his home state of Ohio to perform rather inconsequential political mumbo-jumbo for the next few years. But after the war was over, Clement attempted to run on political platforms while still advocating for slavery. However, he suddenly switched his views with the Democratic New Departure policy of 1865, which basically 180'd the Democratic Party's stance on slavery once they realized that it fell out of favor in the public's eye. So, being branded as a no-good slavery supporter for life meant the figurative death of his political career. Instead, he turned to a career in law, which would soon lead to his literal death. On June 17, 1871, Vallandigham met his demise while defending his client, Thomas McGeehan, a young fella accused of shooting and killing one Tommy Myers.
Bro, I don't know whether this is intentional, but why does this guy look like that Luigi guy that, like, shot the other guy? Like not Luigi from, like, Mario and Luigi, like, Super Mario Bros. But this guy, he looks exactly like this guy.
Clement claimed that Myers had, in fact, not been murdered, but accidentally shot himself with his own gun while getting up to stand.
What? How is that even humanly possible? You accidentally shoot yourself with your own gun while getting up to stand? Who would ever get up to stand with the technique of pointing a gun at, like, at your body? I'm pretty sure when you're standing up, you gotta put, like, 2 hands on the ground, just push yourself up. Why would you ever require to push a ballistic projectile apparatus against your body to stand up? Like, what is that going to help?
Clement vowed that he could demonstrate this before the court, proving McGeehan's innocence. And so he did.
Oh.
Now, when reenacting a scene that results in someone accidentally blowing a hole through their own tummy, you want to make sure that you have safety measures in place that would physically prevent you from doing the same thing. Clement didn't do that. Instead, he had mistakenly used a loaded pistol. While demonstrating the scene as Myers, Clement attempted to draw the seemingly harmless firearm from his coat pocket as he stood up. And he blew a hole through his own tummy, just like Myers.
But surely he won the case then. Like, he successfully proved that it was possible to do this. So surely he would have won the case. Like, surely as, like, a consolation prize for his death, he wins the law case, right?
Clement Vallandigham died just 12 hours later from his injuries. The verdict? Not guilty. McGeehan was acquitted and was a free man. Until he was murdered a few years later, that is.
Okay, so that's not too bad then. It's a happy ending, although, yeah, it is quite a stupid death. So this guy managed to prove the impossible, but it cost him his life. He proved that it was possible to accidentally shoot your own stomach while getting up off the ground with a gun in your hand somehow. I mean, I don't think this is lobotomy level yet, but yeah, this is definitely a hint of brain damage.
You can tempt death all you like, but eventually, he's gonna get what's his. That's what big old Bobby Leach found out in 1926. Born in itty-bitty Britain, England in 1858, Leach grew up to be quite the daredevil. Unfortunately, most of Bobby's early life is lost to time, completely shrouded in mystery. We do know that around the 1880s, he had left boring old England for a more exhilarating life in the States. Apparently an excellent swimmer, Leach eventually landed a gig as a professional high diver with the greatest show on earth, the Barnum and Bailey Circus. There, he performed daringly dangerous feats in front of thousands of eager onlookers.
Oh.
This had quenched the adrenaline-thirsty void in his life for a while, but eventually he retired from this circus life at the age of 50 in order to extend his life expectancy a bit. But that logic was tossed aside rather quickly, as in the early 1900s, Bobby decided to settle down as a humble businessman at Niagara Falls. Blimey, that's a proper waffle, isn't it? Initially content with just opening up a restaurant, Leach noticed the ever-increasing tourists flocking from afar to see a bunch of water spill over a cliff. So, this gave him an idea. The daredevil was back.
Great, so to extend his lifespan by a few more years, he decides to retire from the circus just to do another stunt diving off Niagara Falls. But like, if you're jumping from that height, isn't the water sort of like concrete? Like, the water will hit you like concrete.
Between 1906 and 1911, Leach performed various stunts around the falls, including parachuting from the nearby Honeymoon Bridge to the river below. Over the years, Leach continued to push the envelope, coming up with more and more dangerous stunts to draw larger and larger crowds.
And keep in mind, at this point, this guy's like 50, like he's in his 50s. Like, this is not like a young dude. This is like a 50-year-old man.
Eventually, he faced his biggest challenge, the falls themselves. And on July 25th, 1911, entombed in a customized giant metal barrel, Leach took the plunge.
And let me guess, he couldn't get his way out of the barrel. He's gonna get stuck in there. The water's gonna seep in, and he's gonna just drown in there.
And survived. Sure, he had gashed his forehead, broken his jaw, and all of his kneecaps, but he was still kicking. Bobby Leach became the second person to survive the trip, right behind 63-year-old Annie Taylor. After recovering in the hospital for several months, Leach became a celebrity. Over the next several years, he had plans to make a second bound over the falls, but it never came to be. Why? Well, because in 1926, he went and slipped on a dang orange peel, snapping his leg in half, which went and got infected with gangrene, ultimately killing him a few days later.
Wait, so you're telling me this guy, he did not die from jumping off the Niagara Falls, doing all those stunts in the Niagara Falls, doing all those like circus stunts, but the one thing that does end up killing him is an orange peel that he slips on, gets gas gangrene on his leg. I mean, yeah, gas gangrene, yeah, that is a bit problematic. But I mean, if that orange peel wasn't there, then maybe this guy would have had like a more, I don't know, like a more exciting, exhilarating exit from like life through like a, I don't know, like a Niagara Falls sort of stunt. But anyways, the orange peel wasn't his fault, so I don't think it's brain damage or lobotomy, and I also don't think it's slightly questionable, because I think it was out of his control. I think like it was genuinely out of his control, and so I think this is a calm death, even though yeah, it's a bit unfortunate.
Having served the shortest presidential term in United States history, you know something must have gone down. Well, it was President William Henry Harrison's health bar. The withering president had a pretty impressive career before assuming office. He enlisted in the U.S. Army in 1791 at the age of 18 and quickly rose through the ranks, serving in the American Indian Wars, which sought to expand U.S. territory further west against native tribes, which they did.
Wait, so this guy lived for 281 years? Okay. Interesting.
Satisfied with his service, Harrison decided to retire from the military at 25 and toss his hat in the ring for a career in politics. Recognized for his leadership skills on the battlefield, then President Guy John Adams gave Harrison control over the territory of Indiana as governor, with the goal of expanding that territory for statehood eligibility. One consequence of this territorial expansion was the Battle of Tippecanoe in 1811, which only further displaced natives from the area in order to allow more settlers to, well, settle. This success cemented Harrison's legacy, as Indiana would eventually become its own state in 1816. But leading military campaigns from afar, that's boring as shit. Harrison missed being in the middle of the action, so he came out from his military retirement to fight in the War of 1812, serving as a major general for the U.S. Army against the smelly redcoats, who weren't too happy seeing the U.S.'s throbbing expansion. A bunch of people died, and the war ended in pretty much a stalemate, but the outcome solidified the U.S. as a world power, being able to at least defend itself from a foreign power. This really boosted national morale and pride, and with no restrictions put in place, the US just kept on manifesting that destiny in the coming years. Now back in a time of peace and having successfully satisfied his war boner, Harrison fell back into politics.
His war what? His war wood? He gets rock hard from doing war? Okay. I mean, whatever floats your boat. It's 2025. We're not gonna judge.
Harrison fell back into politics, serving in the House of Representatives, the Senate, and eventually running for president. His opponent was 8th President Martin Van Buren, whose first term experienced an economic depression with the Panic of 1837. Of course, Van Buren was given the blame for the economic downturn, even though it began over a month before he was even in office. The economy stagnated, unemployment rose, and the people were properly pissed. So it's no surprise that when seeking re-election, it was now Harrison who would be the favorite to win. Harrison won in a landslide, 234 electoral votes to Van Buren's 60, but that wouldn't matter in about a month. Elected in 1841 at the age of 68, Harrison was getting on in his years. Either a stubborn old goat or a complete idiot, he had the habit of being extremely underprepared for the weather. For example, he delivered his inaugural speech in the bitter cold and rain for 2 hours straight, with no overcoat or weather-appropriate clothes.
Connected with this subject is the character of the currency. The idea of making it exclusively metallic, however well intended, appears to me to be fraught with...
Oh, this is gonna suck. Harrison continued to endure exposure to the elements over the next few weeks, eventually contracting a deadly case of pneumonia. Despite his doctors jacking him to the tits with drugs and relying on good old-fashioned bloodletting, Harrison died on April 4th, 1841, exactly 1 month after being elected.
Right, so basically, his death, so the cause of death was purely the weather. So the only reason why he died was because he never like dressed appropriately. Is that really the reason for this one? And he only lasted for 1 month. Okay, that's definitely a little bit unfortunate. But I mean, he was 68 years old. I feel like at 68 years old, you feel cold anyways. Like even if it's like 30 degrees outside, like 30 degrees like Celsius, I'm pretty sure old people still feel like really cold. And then that's why you always see old people strapped with like hella layers of like jackets and everything. But I mean, surely if you're experiencing such cold temperatures that like it eventually kills you, surely like you would like your brain, you would feel some sort of like receptors in your skin and everything telling you that like, you know, maybe perhaps I should go put a jacket on or something. And so at 68 years old, maybe those brain cells were maybe, you know, long gone like years ago. So he could have genuinely had brain damage. Although, yeah, I think I'm just gonna say this one was only slightly questionable. Like you can't really blame him. Like, you know how you have those guys that just like always wear shorts, like no matter what, like no matter how cold it is, like they always rock up to school in like shorts. Like he could have been one of those guys. And so yeah, you can't really blame him, I don't think.
When you were a kid, did you ever try jumping off of a sofa using a blanket as a makeshift parachute, but you failed to calculate if the blanket had the proper coefficient of drag necessary to minimize your acceleration due to gravity, leaving you crashing to the floor in a possible concussion?
No. I don't even think what word did you even use? Was that even English? Was he speaking English?
Just me? Well, take that scenario and scale it up to adult size. Except this is your blanket, and this is your couch.
Oh, okay. Don't tell me this guy. Okay, this guy. This could be the lobotomy. This might be the lobotomy. It literally looks like he's wearing garbage bags. Like he's wearing cloth like bed sheets. But don't bed sheets have like tiny little holes in them? And so it's like it won't really do that good of a job at like, you know, sustaining like himself in the air. Also, there's no like tip. Like I feel like there always has to be like a tip for any like flying thing, because then how is it meant to like, you know, go forward? Otherwise you're just gonna be like you're just gonna be like a parachute, like without any direction.
Meet Franz Reichelt, the mastermind behind the parachute
mastermind
suit prototype.
We're calling him a mastermind now. Okay.
The mastermind behind the parachute suit prototype. An Austro-Hungarian tailor and inventor, Franz became hyper-fixated on developing a sort of wearable parachute. He had identified a gap in the market with the rise of humanity's newest invention, the powered aircraft. Seeing reports of pilots forced to launch themselves out of their airborne contraptions if things went south, Franz vowed to come up with a solution to save lives.
Well, at least he didn't die for no reason. Like he was dying trying to like for the sake of science and research. Yeah, he was trying to figure out a solution instead of the like the ejector button or something. But I mean, were parachutes invented at that time? I'm pretty sure they already were invented. Like instead of wearing the parachute yourself, why don't you just like, I don't know, hold on to the parachute? Like parachutes were invented at that time, I'm pretty sure.
So we got to work in 1910 with some initial designs, testing the prototypes by strapping them onto makeshift dummies and hucking them off of a 5-story ledge. Surprisingly, the dummies managed to hit the ground at less than fatal speeds.
I mean, isn't that because the dummies are like much lighter than real people?
But there was a problem. The prototype weighed 150 pounds. And no pilot's gonna lug all that extra weight onto an aircraft, even if it would potentially save their life. But Franz would not give up. After all, you have to fail many times before you succeed. But it did help that there was also some monetary encouragement. Turns out that France's Aeronautic Club held a parachute-esque design competition which offered a cash prize to the tune of 10,000 francs. Considering that the average wage of an unskilled French laborer at the time was only a few francs a day, that prize was nothing to sneeze at. Over the next year, Reichelt was unable to replicate his initial success with any of the lighter redesigns. But to his logic, it wasn't a design problem, it was a height problem. Anyone who has even taken a basic physics course knows that this is a bad idea. You fall exponentially faster the longer you're airborne thanks to acceleration due to gravity. But what's a bunch of stupid science gonna do to stop an avid inventor from fulfilling his dream and lining his pockets? Nothing. But the pavement will.
Okay, that is mess. That was an unnecessary thing to say. That is mess. That is disrespectful.
But Franz, determined to test his designs from a higher height, pleaded with the Parisian prefecture of police to allow him to run an experiment from the Eiffel Tower. Despite numerous rejections, they eventually gave in.
And I wonder why they originally rejected it. Like, perhaps it sounds a little bit unsafe, especially if you haven't really tested it anywhere else before, and your test dummies are like very light, and they haven't even fallen. Wait, did you say 5 stories or 5 feet? Because if he threw the dummies off 5 feet, and he tested it like that, bro, that is like shorter than me. That is not even like a valid test at all. And it's going straight from the dummies to like the real thing. Okay, I mean, what could possibly go wrong?
On the bitter cold morning of February 4th, 1912, and to the surprise of everyone, Franz arrived on site in his dumpy-looking parachute suit. Now, the police only gave Franz permission to perform this stunt on the grounds that dummies would be used, not that he would be doing the jumping himself. This guy was so confident in his invention, boasting to news journalists of how successful it was gonna be. But apparently the police didn't feel like stopping him, so after a bunch of preparations, Reichelt made the leap, but his parachute suit failed to properly deploy, so the poor fella plummeted 187 feet to his death, achieving nothing but a Franz-shaped dent in the cement.
And the fact that they caught it on camera, and also, bro, why is he wearing Yeezy foam runners as well? I don't know whether they were invented back then. Like, he's literally wearing Yeezy foam runners. He at least he died drippy. I mean, was it worth it though? But I mean, honestly, yeah, I thought this one was originally gonna be lobotomy, but yeah, like he died. He was trying to do this for science, and although the reasoning was definitely a little bit like a little bit more than slightly questionable, I think we're just gonna have to rate this one brain damage. I don't think any of these were like truly lobotomy, unfortunately.